Is it going in there?
Yeah, I'm getting
All right, tighten it up, dude. Tighten it up. All right, what we're doing is we are getting ready to put our wire harness in our 66 Chevelle. Now, hang on one second. Okay, as long as that's not touching metal there, is it? Okay. All right. Did I mention to you that we're trying to get this fucking wire harness in our Chevelle? Did I say that yet? It's a screw, dude. It's a screw, Darren. Come on. Alright, so what I did is I took some angle iron. You can see right here. Let me get that up there and show it to you. Alright, and I went ahead and made some brackets that I'm going to weld to the inside of the firewall. Now the reason I did that instead of screwing it to the firewall is if you look at these wires right here, if I would try to screw that to the firewall, it's going to smash all them wires. So I went ahead and did it this way, kind of to make a box where the wires will be nice and free and they won't touch anything. Now what I'll do then is I will weld this right here. I'll weld this to the firewall, and then our wire harness will be permanently mounted. Now the wire harness that we're using here is an aftermarket style wire harness that is a 21 circuit. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that's actually a 20 circuit wire harness, and we're missing one of these, Darren. Where's it at?
I don't know, I haven't seen.
Okay, we're missing a buzzer. Keep your eye out for it. All right, and this is made for a muscle car of this era for a General Motors because it's got the extra headlight wires and other stuff that we need to wire this car up. Now, if you are doing the type of job that we're doing, which is installing a late model drivetrain system into the vehicle, then more than likely you're going to have to use this wire harness. The factory wire harness will not cut the mustard, and you'll have to rewire your whole car. So let's get this thing welded up in there, and then once we get it welded in place, I think we're ready to start running our wires.
Welcome to D.I.Y. Automotive School with my friend Pete and Minnie, the body shop girl. It's everything you need to know about cars and more.
Darren, bring it on over here. We got to figure out where we're going to exactly put it. We're going to try to put it in the exact same space that the old one was in, which is right in this area right here. See right there? That's what we want to do. But we got it upside down because it's got to go like this, bud. Alright, now if you can come over here, Darren. Over here, I'm going to have you reach in here and hold the wires up so I can tack weld this in there. Alright? Because the wires got to go facing up. Now, okay, hold that. Here, grab another one. There you go. Here's this one. Now, we're going to have to swing inside there, so just hang on. Alright? So what we're going to do is we're going to tack weld it in there, then we'll take our brackets off, and then we'll weld it in there good. So, here, let go a second. Let's see, okay. Yeah, it's got to come way out in here, dude. You're going to have to swing it way down here. There you go. Alright, now I'm trying to hold it right there. The wires are still in my way. If I can just get it to where I want it to be. Right there. Hang on. Sucks, man. Fuck. This is not fucking easy. Welding this bitch in here. Hold it right there. Especially since we got one of the brackets backwards. You know? Yeah. Hold that wire. Got it? Son of a bitch. What a fucking joke. Fuck. Bitch. This really fucking sucks, motherfucker, man. Fuck! Fucking bitch. I can't believe I did that. Just fucking put the wire down. Put it down. Take it off. I'm gonna have to fucking redo that bracket. Motherfucker. Fuck! Fucking bitch. Alright, so what the problem was is we actually had one of these brackets were fucking backwards, and I thought it would work, but it didn't work, so we had to pull the bitch out, make a new fucking bracket, and now you can see that they're right. So let me get my fucking helmet on, and then we'll go ahead and tack weld it in there, take the fucking thing off, and then weld them on there. Alright? Alright. Let's cross our fingers and hope everything goes good. Right, grab them wires over here, just like you had them. This one here is going to give us a pain in the ass, but we'll get her done. Alright, let me get this side over here first. Hold it. Alright, hang on. Let me get this side. Yeah. Now we're talking, dude. Hang on. What the fuck? Okay. Alright, hold it right there. Oh yeah, this is a lot better. Alright. Let it down. Fucking bitch, dude. And that, my friend, is how you mount the fucking wire harness in the fucking car, Darren. Alright, so if we look right there now, we have professionally mounted our wire harness into our car. If for any reason whatsoever the wire harness needs to be replaced or it needs to come out for any type of repairs or shorts or rewiring, now we have welded 2 brackets to the firewall where they can be removed, 4 screws, take the whole wire harness out, repair it or replace it, and then put it back in. So there you go. Wire harness in a 1966 Chevelle, mounted and done. Alright, now that we got our motor installed in our LS2 and we went ahead and did a couple other items, what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and install our engine wire harness. This is going to take 2 wire harnesses. It's going to take the main wire harness, which we've already mounted under the dash right there, basically in the factory spot where the original one was mounted. And we got it all coiled up and ready to start running that wire harness. You can see there's the fuse box right there. So that's a good go situation. And now that that wire harness is installed, we can go ahead and install our engine harness. As you can see, this is a very nice wire harness. I like the Street Performance one better due to this fact. you start running your wires, this, that, and the other on your engine wire harness, the first thing you got to do is you got to locate where you want them to come out of the firewall, because some wires stay in the car and some are outside the car, depending on where you put your computer. And we're going to mount the computer inside the car on this particular vehicle. So what we're going to do is we're going to leave half the wires are going to be inside the car while the other half are going to go outside the car. So let's look and see where I drilled my hole. I used an 1.25" hole saw to do it with. Let's see where my hole is going to be to run my wires out for my engine. And if you look right there, there's our transmission tunnel. You can see how it looks like a dinosaur back. I'm not really happy about that, but we did what we could do, and the carpet covers that and you'll never see it, and it's undercoated on the other side, so you know what, fuck you if you don't like it. But anyway, yeah, this isn't a machine shop, okay? This is not a fucking machine shop. We don't have bends, brakes, presses, and stretchers, and shapers, and all this other shit. So, yeah, that's how I did it. If you don't like it, you know, leave a fucking comment. Tell me about it. That would be fucking great. If you look right there, right above the transmission tunnel, almost in the center, over toward the driver's side, you can see where I cut my hole out, where my wires are going to go ahead and exit out of the car to the outside behind the engine. And then as we look at the engine, you can see right there, there's our hole where our engine wires, our engine wire harness will come out and then split off from there. So as we look at our wire harness, I've kind of basically split it off, and it's really easy to tell because you're going to have the big wire shrink tube going around your wires. That's going to really be the center of the situation. Now this particular one right here, and it's called APP, all right, that is for your pedal, okay? So APP is for your electronic pedal, all right, because this is an electronic throttle on this. This is run off the computer. It's a computerized pedal. So remember that this one goes on here, it does not go outside, this stays in the car. And then of course here is the main wire harness that hooks up to our computer itself. Alright, then you got your relay, your fuel relay, and your fuses, master transmission, you got your coil, your injector fuses, and then you got your fuel pump relay, which is right here. Okay, and then you got another relay. Okay, this is where you would plug in your computer to find out what the problems are if you ever have any problems. So all this is going to stay in the car while all this goes outside the car right here. Now when you're running these wires out of your firewall, it's really good to have a second set of hands, probably one of your buddies or possibly your wife, if your wife will help you. A lot of guys out there have wives that refuse to help them on their automobiles, but that's okay, that's just the woman. What we're going to do before we install that, we're going to wait until somebody drops by SWR&C, shakes a hand and makes a friend, or we're going to wait for Minnie, the body shop girl, to get here, and then we're going to run all those wires out of that car and out to the engine compartment so we can start wiring this thing up to get it running. All right, we got our wire harness run through the vehicle. Let's go take a look at it. Let me show you what situations we ran into and how we're going to fix the problems. So if you look right here, you can see all of our wire harness is basically hooked up. I got to fix this thing here popped off of here, so we'll get that back on. But I got all the injectors, the coils, we got our water sensor here, we got our alternator. The alternator was too short. The alternator wire was too short and it had the wrong end on it. So what I did is I took the original end, which is right here, and I'm going to clean this tape up, and then I had to splice that together and then solder those wires back in. So the wrong end was on here, and I took the other end off of the original wire harness, and that's why it's very important. Don't ever throw anything away until you're completely done with it. This is a helpful hand right here for when you run into problems like this right here. So I don't know what that fitting was for, but it had the wrong one on there. We took it off the other wire harness, we put it on, we got that fixed. This right here is for our MAP sensor. That goes into the air cleaner. I believe that's a mass airflow sensor. I'm sorry, MAF sensor, M-A-F. And then we came across this wire here. This is our crank sensor wire. And this here is actually located way down here underneath the crank pulley. So you can see that this is way too short and it won't reach. Here's the old one that was on the crank sensor pulley when I cut the wire harness off. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to lengthen this out as well, and we'll go through our old wire harness, find the correct wires, the colors, codes, and thicknesses, and then we will solder those wires to this fitting right here to make it long enough to reach down here. And then in the meantime, we're also going to be using a special item called shrink wrap. Now this is a shrink tubing right here. You can get this in variable sizes. I got a pack of them. The problem is you might have to use a different color than what the color is on the vehicle to find the right size. So make sure you have plenty of this available when you're going to go ahead and splice and solder wires. And as we're looking right here, here's the alternator plug that came with our wire harness that we purchased. And you can see just by looking at it that it's a little bit different. And it was actually too long. It was that much longer, so I went ahead and shortened it up as well. So we went ahead and ran our wires out of the firewall. You can see that right there. You got a left that goes on the left side, and then of course the right side over here. Everything's hooked up, everything's ready to go, except for one situation that I didn't like. And that's this bad boy right here. What this is the transmission plug. Now this is a 12-pin plug, and this actually fits on here, and then once that's on there, this little lever right here, you twist that, you turn it, and it locks it in place. What I did is I went ahead and cut the wires, and the reason that I cut all the wires is because we couldn't get this fitting, which I'm showing you right here. We would have had to make the hole where the wires went through enormously big, and it wouldn't have fit. So I went ahead and cut the wires, and then what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and solder and shrink tube them all back together, and then once that's done, we'll put a big piece of shrink tube over the whole thing, and then you'll never know that it was taken apart, and it will be soldered together properly so it will work functionally. So we're almost done wiring up the outside of our engine and getting it all set in place. And then once we get that done, we're going to go ahead and move to the main wire harness, which we are using an aftermarket wire harness on this car. If you plan on doing this and you're going to the extreme of what we're doing on this car, it's a lot better to use an aftermarket wire harness, a 21 circuit aftermarket wire harness designed for this car. All right, don't just go buy any wire harness, because don't forget, we got 4 headlights on this car. What else do we got? We got turn signals on each corner of the car, so it's very important to make sure you get the right wire harness for your situation application. Let me go ahead and finish that out. I'm going to go ahead and lengthen our crank sensor pulley, and then I'm going to our crank sensor fucking wire, not pulley, wire. It's down by the fucking pulley, bitch. And then I'm gonna go ahead and solder the fucking transmission wires back together. And when I get that done, I'll be back and we'll go from there. All right, it looks like we got the motor wired up. There's one more item that we have to wire up on the motor besides our mass air flow sensor. We don't have an air cleaner yet. And then of course we need to go ahead and get our ground wire down to the frame, and then from the frame we're going to go to the body. And we got our O2 sensors, one on each side, that need to be wired up, but other than that, everything's wired up. I went ahead and started wiring up the main wire harness. I got the battery wired up along with the alternator, all right? And then we got the safety neutral safety switch, and we got the water temperature for our gauges. Now, the thing about these engines, it's going to have 2 gauges on it per sensor. And when I say that, I'm talking about the water and the oil. You're going to have one sensor for the computer, which is your original sensor that comes off the engine in the original spot and goes to the computer wire harness. And then you're going to have another sensor that you're going to have to mount over here on the other head, on the rear side of the head, on the passenger side. Now, when you take this plug out, it's going to be a 10 millimeter threaded plug, so you're going to have to tap that out to 1/4 inch to get your adapter in there. and then of course the sensor, whatever sensor you're using for the gauges that you're using. So that has to be installed for the gauges to work properly. And then if we look right here, you can see this is our oil pressure switch for our aftermarket gauges that we're going to use. And that has got to be mounted on the motor as well. Let's get down under the car. I'm going to show you where that sensor mounts so your gauges will work properly and everything will function like it's supposed to. If we look right here, this is actually a block-off plate which is located right above where your oil filter would go. Now this block-off plate right here is going to have to be removed, just like you see right there. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and replace it with one of these. Now you're going to have to purchase this over at the your General Motors auto parts store. You're going to have to go to the dealer and order that. And if you can see right there, the part number is a 12551595. That's the number you need. This is the adapter you need. Once again, it's going to have a 10mm threaded slot in it. You're going to have to re-thread that to 1/4 inch pipe thread, and then once you do that, you'll be able to go ahead and put your sensor on here and then bolt that back in place using the original gasket or a new gasket. Once that's done, then you can hook your sensor up the proper way that it's supposed to be, and everything will work and function right. So you can see installing this engine into the vehicle is getting to be a little bit of work, but it's not as much work as we imagined it would be and as hard as it looks on film right here. You can do this at home. This is an easy situation, the way that my friend Pete's showing you how to do it. It's just that you got to know how and where to do the right things that needs to be done. The other thing we got to do is we got to go ahead and hook our fuel line up, and I'm starting to get ahead of the game, so let me get that done right there. Once I get that done, we'll be back as we install our LS2 into our 1966 Chevy Chevelle.
Thanks for watching D.I.Y. Automotive School. Classes don't stop till you know everything.